and I think it's maintained its following because it played such an important role in, making people who maybe felt different at the time feel more comfortable with who they are and more proud of who they are. And I think it's an amazing film in many ways, but specifically in that way, I think it's really powerful. And
you said you're at theatre now?
Yeah, I'm in one of the dressing rooms.
Oh, I see. And which theatre is that?
We are at, I should really know this, we are at the one in the Museums Quarter.
Here You're in Vienna?
We're in Vienna, yeah.
Really? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. We're in Vienna this week and next week.
Fantastic. Oh, wow. Oh, this is amazing. So you're touring around Europe with the Rocky Horror Show?
At the moment, yeah.
And you play the role of Rocky?
I do, yeah.
So tell me about this production.
Yeah, so I've done this production before. I did it in 2017/18, again in the role of Rocky. The European tour is based predominantly in Germany, and it's a lot more gritty and darker than the UK version, which is more tongue-in-cheek and innuendo.
Okay.
So I prefer this version. I think it's more interesting.
Oh, really? And okay, so darker in what sense?
It's more sexualized rather than sexual. Okay. Interestingly, this time around, it's been the process of learning it. The rehearsal process has been really interesting because we've had a lot of input into how things are portrayed, and it's 2022 and everybody wants to send the right messages in a show that's heaped in sexuality. And at the end of the day, it's a very funny, interesting show, and they're the main messages that we want to get out to the audience, rather than cheap jokes at the expense of over sexualizing people. Or
So you think this is this the reason why you think the darker one is more almost speaking to people?
I think so, yeah, because the whole reason that the film has such a following is, well, I think anyway, is because it was released at a time when, if people were maybe in the LGBTQ plus, and if they fell somewhere within that umbrella, they felt like this film really spoke to them, and it was the first time maybe they saw a lead character not be a alpha male, hyper masculine character that maybe didn't speak to who they are as people. And I think it's maintained its following because it played such an important role in, making people who maybe felt different at the time feel more comfortable with who they are and more proud of who they are. And I think it's an amazing film in many ways, but specifically in that way, I think it's really powerful, and it stood the test of time, I think, because a lot of people look back to that as a turning point in their lives.
And it's interesting that musicals have this quality that they are very much really touching the emotion of people because of the music and the singing and all of that, but that there's always in every musical sort of, even if it's the most wonderful one, there's always like this little message, and the little the story has a little message, and I find it very interesting that this topic is also something that you now say that you can bring the message across.
Yeah, I think so. And just to touch on what you said about the music, this version as well, in the way that it differs, is it's more like a rock concert. The band is very loud, and we play in arenas sometimes, and it's like a fusion between a rock concert and a musical. And I think that works really well with the music that's written. And like you said, for some people with art, but for myself with music resonates with you in a way that nothing else really can. I mean, you can hear a piece of music and it can take you back to when you were 7 years old, and you know exactly what happened in your life when you first heard that piece of music. Or so when you're trying to send a message within the text and then it's accompanied by music and visuals, and I think that's the joy of musicals compared to straight theatre, which I love personally. I love watching plays, but musicals has that additional component that can really send a message, I think.
Yeah, and I think also it's that the fact that you watch a musical many times, you know, that it's that repetition and the words of the songs that you sing along. So it is those messages that you sort of take with you and always have with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you want to come see it in Vienna, I can try and get you a ticket.
Oh, that would be great. I would love to. I've
Yeah.
never seen it. I used to have the record, the LP,
Sure.
when I was
Sure.
younger, but I've never seen the performance. But now artists who do the musical theater, you have to do everything. You have to be able to act, you have to be able to sing and dance. And in your training, is this something that is this what you enjoy? You know, there's all these different facets of being an artist.
Yeah, I think that being a musical theatre performer is sort of underrated in how able these people are, because, you know, even if you are somebody who is never going to be in Cats and be someone who's never going to dance a lot, unless you graduate from training and go straight to playing lead roles, you're going to have to cover those roles at some point, which means you'll be in the ensemble. So you have to be able to dance to a certain ability. Otherwise, you're never going to even get into the industry, regardless of, you might have the best singing voice on the planet, but if you haven't got the fundamentals of dance, unless you go straight into playing the role, you don't really stand a chance, because casting musicals is very much like a jigsaw piece, because especially nowadays with the pandemic, if people have to call in sick or they're not feeling well, or they think that they've got cold symptoms and it's safer for them to stay away, you have to still be able to make the show work. So the more malleable you are as an artist, then you're kind of making the decision for them on whether they hire you or not. Because if you can sing, dance and act, and you're a team player, as it were, then essentially you're able to play most roles that are in the show. So I think that moving forward, I think there'll be a lot more emphasis within training on making sure that the people who are amazing at singing don't just sing every day, and the people that are amazing at dancing don't just do all of the dance classes. Myself, I think my strongest thing is acting. But with my training, I had so much dance experience that I had to use my transferable skills in order to even stand a chance of getting into this industry, because I hadn't trained in it. And singing wise, I can sing relatively in tune, but I'm never going to be the lead in sort of an old fashioned musical. I don't have that technique, that singing technique that you would need to be Jean Valjean in Les Mis or the Phantom in the Phantom of the Opera. So I had to decide that if I wanted to go into acting and do more things that included speech, I had to sort of navigate a path whereby I could stay employed but travel towards the things that I would prefer to do. Because it's a very difficult industry. There are sort of for every part that is given, you would think maybe 60 people auditioned for the part, and then maybe 10 times that amount applied to audition for the part and were unsuccessful in being given an audition. So there are certainly more performers than jobs.
Yeah, I spoke to an artistic director yesterday, and he said the same thing, that so many have to audition, and it's not that you audition and you're not good enough. Sometimes you are good enough, but it's just the look, or it's just the height, or it's there's so many other factors. And so I can totally understand what you're saying, that it is a difficult industry.
Yeah, it is, but it is rewarding once you achieve something that you've set out to achieve. And just touching on what you said about the person you spoke to yesterday, somebody could be really good for the role, and even especially in the current climate when the people that produce these shows are under huge financial strain in case they get hit with COVID and have to postpone shows or give people money back. Some of these costumes may have cost €5,000 or €6,000 to make. So if it comes to the last two people and they're both perfect, if one of them fits in the old costume and one doesn't, it's probably going to go to the person that fits in the old costume. So it is, you get desensitized to rejection, because they say that even if you're a successful actor, if you manage to get 1% of the jobs you audition for, then you're doing really, really well. So you get used to being told no. You just have to understand from a business perspective that it might be to do with hair color, it might be to do with height, could be something that's out of your control. So what I try to do when I audition is, if I have an audition in the centre of London, I'll do the audition and then arrange to meet a friend for lunch or something, so that it's just part of my day rather than tailoring my whole day around the audition, because then you're then you might get your hopes up before you've even began, because you've dedicated a whole day to a 1 hour audition.
And your focus is then different, I think. But I actually spoke to a young opera singer, and she said that she takes auditions as just an experience, like just to have this role to try out, basically. So she has that that idea, that she looks at auditions that way. But now, tell me about your training. How did you train, and where did you train?
So I trained at the Royal Ballet School in Richmond Park. So I moved away from home when I was 11 years old, and I lived in Richmond Park in London, Surrey. And for 5 years, we would do sort of 12-hour days, 6 days a week. And that was all I knew for 5 years. On a Sunday, we would be allowed to go to the local village to, have a look around and buy sweets and things. And then we would we'd go to Sheen, And then in the final year, you were allowed to go to Richmond for a few hours. And that was kind of everything I knew. And to be honest, I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I loved having people around me all of the time. Not just people that had the same goals and objectives as me, but just young people. I don't know. I think it's really set me up for the rest of my life, career aside. You learn very quickly when there are only 12 people in your year group, what is socially acceptable and what is socially unacceptable, because you need to get on with these people. Otherwise, nobody wants to be lonely at 11 or 12 years old. So you fast track social norms and social etiquettes, because these people are all you've got, because you're in the middle of a park. And although there are, negative connotations to that, because the other 11 people that you're housing with, you have no say in who they are. They might not be great people. They might influence you in a negative way. They might influence you in a positive way. But for me, some of them I haven't spoken to for 10 years, but I think of them as family. It's really strange. And again, being male, it's highly competitive, but it's not even remotely close to how competitive it was for the females in terms of how many girls audition and how many are accepted. There are the same amount of boys and girls in the school, but there are considerably less applicants who are male. So you're with all these girls who are so incredibly driven that, I didn't really have a girlfriend throughout secondary school period, because they simply couldn't facilitate any time to relationships and growing interested in boys, because it's so demanding and competitive. And it was really interesting. And I loved it. And I love all the people that my house parents that were there, my teachers. I had an English teacher who I think still works there, who would lend me books that weren't in the library, because she realized early on that I really liked things like Charles Dickens. And so she sent me, she's called she was called Miss Phoenix, and I
Oh,
don't know
yeah,
her
yeah.
first name. She's called Miss Phoenix.
Mm.
And for me, she was the first person to ever tell me that I can be a bit moody, but she said it was a good thing. She said
Really?
you're artistic, and you're allowed to have, mood swings, as it were. You're young and you're going through adolescence, and you are moody, but you might end up being great in some way. I don't know. She really left a mark with
Really?
me. I
Yeah.
think of her often. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I love when artists knew a name. I mean, she was not a ballet teacher, but even though she was your English teacher, she made an impact on you. And I think it's very important to name teachers like that, because they, of course, like you say, you always remember, and there's things that she said that stick with you, and that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And she really loved her job. She was really good at her job, as lots of people are, especially people that work in an establishment like the Royal Ballet School. Their selection process is very thorough, but she just wanted to share her love of literature with young people. She was really great. Yeah.
But now, Ryan, you trained now. You have this very strong classical training. Was this a choice for you to? I mean, did you feel that you wanted to go into musical theatre, or was ballet sort of more your thing?
Yeah, I was very tunnel visioned at school and college, in that I didn't go to jazz classes and things like that. I just did all the ballet. It's kind of what I spoke about early. The example of not just doing the things you're good at. I'm kind of the example of why you don't know what's going to happen later in life. So I would have really benefited from taking the other subjects more seriously, as it were. But my uncle and auntie were professional ballet dancers with the Royal Ballet Company. So from a very young age, I kind of just wanted to be like them. So I was always going to do ballet. And then I did it professionally for a few years. And I woke up one morning and I thought, there's got to be more to life than this.
Really?
I think I had realized at the time, without knowing, that I wasn't going to achieve much more as a ballet dancer. And certainly I wasn't going to get to the level where I would be happy with the company I was in, the ballet company I was in, and be able to live in a city of my choosing. I kind of had realized that the career would dictate the other important things in my life, like environment and relationships and things like that. And I already felt like I'd overachieved at such a young age. At like 21, I'd felt like I'd already played really good roles and I'd done much more than I thought I would. And to be honest, the reason why I play a role like Rocky now is ballet class is very much like going to the gym, and I loved ballet class. But performing ballet, I loved the applause and I loved the feeling of being on stage. But it wasn't necessarily the feeling of doing ballet on stage that I enjoyed. It was just being on stage. So I didn't need it. It definitely wouldn't have fulfilled me in the way that I lived in Estonia for a year, for example, when I joined the Estonian National Ballet Company straight from school. And I loved it there. The job was amazing. The people that worked there were fantastic. But I didn't really want to live in Tallinn at a young age on my own, and it'd be incredibly dark most of the year. It'd be incredibly cold most of the year. And also it was somewhere that wasn't particularly progressive as a society. So I had friends that wanted to audition that wouldn't audition because of maybe their heritage. A lot of the people in the ballet company were wonderful people, and probably in the LGBTQ plus category, but were living as straight people because they felt like they wouldn't be safe if they were who they really were. And I felt like even at that age, I felt like by living there, I would then be endorsing that environment. and it just wasn't worth it for me. I consider myself to be, to have quite good morals, and I didn't want to live somewhere that didn't let people be who they want to be. And for people in the ballet company to feel like they couldn't be who they were, imagine who, people that worked in sort of normal jobs would feel. It just wasn't for me, I think. So then I made a decision. Yeah.
But now that you're playing this role and you're so involved in it, does it change also the way you felt? I mean, do you really understand now what, by playing a role or by playing in a musical like this, do you understand that more the struggle of people?
That's a really good question. I think I do as much as I can, given that I am a straight white male. I certainly, everything that happened throughout the pandemic has taught me that it's not really my turn to give opinions on things. It's my turn to listen. And the reason why, for example, the Black Lives Matter movement was so powerful was because there were very few people who are like me, straight white men, who will have seen the movement of Black Lives Matter and thought, well, yeah, you all need to do exactly what I've been doing for my whole life and, campaign in this way. The reason why we all reacted the way that we did was because it's so obvious that we lived in a society that was tailored for people like myself. And then it made sense that I wouldn't really be aware of it because it was suiting me. And, it's systemic. And, whilst I don't have any racist bones in my body or anything like that, but it was so powerful because it was so true that marginalized groups are being underrepresented in all areas of life. And from that moment on, really, I just thought maybe I should shut up about my opinions on politics and my opinions on misrepresentation and stuff, because it's not really about me. In fact, it's definitely not about people like me. And so I think I understand more, yes, but I think I'd leave the explaining of how it makes people feel to somebody more equipped than myself.
But now, this is also very demanding on you physically. I mean, you talked about ballet company and being in a ballet company, and of course, the training is also very hard and physical. But now, with musical theatre, you perform every night, except for I think one night a week.
Yeah, 8 shows a week. Yeah. So there's in this schedule, there's usually 2 shows on a Saturday, 2 shows on a Sunday. So that's 4 shows within 2 days. Wow. And it's very demanding, but you have to get your body used to it. And that's what the rehearsal process is for. Coming into playing this role again, we'd obviously had 2 years of the pandemic, 2 years in which I'd done minimal exercise. I'd gained weight, as most people did. There are more important things going on. And so I had to kind of spend 4 or 5 months preparing for this role physically to then come in. And truth be told, I probably won't be in the perfect condition, in my opinion, to play this role until towards the end of the tour.
Really?
Because I'm still going to the gym every day, and he's supposed to be the perfect man physically. And I don't know if it's, modesty or what is it called? Or a little bit of body dysmorphia or whatever. But I certainly don't feel like that now, although like I've just come from the gym now and I have my protein shake ready to go.
Oh, okay.
But I really enjoy that, all of that. I love it. To be able to play a role where you get to improve your physical condition. Like when I finish this job, I'll be in probably the best shape of my life, having been in the worst shape of my life before I got the job offer. So I'm quite grateful for that, to be honest. Yeah.
And now the touring, is that demanding for you as well? How long do you stay in each city?
It's demanding. So usually a week or so, but in the bigger venues, like we're in Munich for 3 weeks, Berlin for 2 weeks, Vienna for 2 weeks. We do stay at Cologne for 3 weeks. We do have extended stays, but it's usually a week at each venue. It's difficult. It's difficult with COVID because we're testing every day, lateral flow, and then we're having a PCR test once or twice a week. So we're being very thorough and responsible. And there are a lot of people that go into making a show like this. So it's not like it's just the cast that have to test. All of the crew have to, the lighting team have to, the sound team, the backstage people, the stage management. It's a big group of people. And in order to keep our jobs, we have to be that thorough, because if you get one COVID case and you're not testing regularly, you'll soon have multiple cases, and then you're in real danger.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is understandable, and I think you as artists are probably also thinking that way. You know, that you don't think that it's a nuisance, but that it's really to your benefit.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, what would your advice be now for a young dancer or performer who would love to do a career in musical theatre?
My advice would be, while you're young and your body doesn't ache when you wake up in the morning and things like that, do as much dancing as you can and as much singing as you can, because I think that when it comes to acting, particularly in musicals, the more general intelligence you have, the more experiences you have to draw from, the more truth that you can search for. I think that comes with age and experience. I think you can improve as an actor whilst not moving. Like, you don't have to be young and physically exerting yourself. You can do that by reading and learning and watching and all of those things. But dancing and singing, they're muscles, and you have to train them, and you have to prepare them. My advice would be, don't practice what you're good at too much. Practice the things you are not good at. And you're doing this because you love it. So try to create a mental environment for yourself whereby you aren't constantly criticizing yourself and bringing yourself down, because we're supposed to be doing this because we love it. So try to enjoy everything you can, because you'll never be on your deathbed wishing that you had been more critical of yourself.
That's true.
But you might be on your deathbed wishing that you'd enjoyed more things in life. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, that is so true, because I think also with ballet training, you are so focused on everything being perfect that that you are very self-critical. And now it's very true what you're saying, you know, that there are also this part of the artist that you have to give, and that you have to be true to the art, you know, and not just. But now, what is your wish for the future?
It's a good question. I don't really know. All I know is that when I get an audition through, if I can envisage being happy whilst doing the job, I don't really mind what the nature of the job is. So I have a real passion for acting, and I would love to do plays and television and more film and things like that. However, if something comes through and it's another musical, or it's something that might even be heavy dance-wise, if I can imagine myself enjoying the experience, I think that the pandemic has sort of tilted my attitude, in that I would rather be working than not working. And although you need to be available to get your dream jobs, you need to be available to take them. I think that it's been taken away from me, us, everyone for 2 years. And I think if I'm going to be happy doing it, then why wouldn't I do it, really?
Yeah.
So I'm quite open to whatever I do next, I think. Yeah.
But that's wonderful because then a lot of adventure waits for you.
I hope
If
so.
you're open
That'd be
to-
really great.
yeah,
Yeah, it'd be
that's
really great.
But
I'm
you've
certainly
already
enjoying traveling more. You know, this time around we're going to the same venues, but I'm making more effort with going to see the lovely buildings, and if there are any events on whilst we're in that location, to try and go to them, because last time I kind of went to the gym, did the show, went home, watched Netflix, repeat. So I could have really been anywhere in the world and it wouldn't have mattered. Whereas this time round, like on Monday, we're going to drive into the mountains and go on a hike and things like that. So I'm trying to actually enjoy the experience of this tour more so than last time. Last time it was more about the job and the work and my physical condition, and this time I'm about enjoying it because I know how to do this role now.
But this is and Vienna is such a beautiful city.
I know
so
that I
I'm
need
sure,
to.
Sorry, you broke up.
Sorry, we broke up there.
But Vienna is such a beautiful city, so there's a lot that you can experience here, and I'm sure overall in Europe as well. Where do you call home? Where are you from in England?
So my family are all in York, in the northeast of England, but I live in Highbury and Islington in London.
But I just want to ask one more question. I'm doing having people do shout outs for their favorite restaurants or coffee shops, or do you have a place that you want to do a shout out?
I do.
Yeah?
It's here in Vienna.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's called Kaffeemik.
Yeah.
Kaffemit, and it is the nicest coffee I've ever had. I go there every day.
Really?
Yeah.
But okay, no, so I'll definitely put this on, and I'll put their link on in the description as well. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, Kaffeemit. And then also in London, there is a place called the Blues Kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And the Blues Kitchen is so successful that it's turned into a franchise now within the UK. But it was just one original venue, and every night they play live music. They have live bands, live jazz musicians, and the food is all from the deep south of America, like gumbo and slow cooked meats, smoked meats and things. And it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Where are they exactly?
So there's one in Shoreditch, there's one in Camden, and there's one in Brixton, and then now they've got one in Manchester as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of them.
Oh, the food is. I mean, I'm a meat eater, but the buffalo cauliflower is so addictive. I get it every time. I couldn't ever not get it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I've
amazing.
never had that, but I'll go and Google the recipe.
yeah, Google the recipe. Yeah.
Okay, Ryan.
All right. Well, have a lovely day.
Have a lovely performance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.